Hey everybody, welcome back. We're going to be making some changes. And this is the start of going to be a series of videos, and we're going to kind of take you along the journey with us to see how it works. So stay tuned. So we're going to make a fefew changes in our eBay store, and for the better. And this is, ultimately was our goal from the beginning. It's going to be our goal going forward too, I guess you could say, because in this business, and it's just I don't think it's just my opinion, but I'm sure there's other people that have it, is that you have to adapt and you have to add and you have to get better at things that maybe you're not good at. And that's one of our plans going forward, is to try and get some new things. And what I mean by that is not, get new inventory or anything like that. Here's what I mean. So when we started out reselling, we were very, it's the easiest way to put this, all over the place is the easiest way to put it. Meaning that, whatever, we would go out every weekend or every week or every day or whatever with the intentions of just finding things that we can sell. And that was it. It didn't matter what that was, as long as we were able to sell it on eBay and it was relatively easy to ship, or we could ship it at some, in some cases, because there's a few things weren't so easy to ship. We would buy them and we would resell them. And that is fine. And that is a perfectly sane way of doing things. Now, the problem with that is that it's inconsistent. It's not repeatable all the time. It can be, depending on the area in which you live. But in the area in which we live, it can be hard to be repeatable. Now, there's ways to kind of combat that, whereas, maybe you buy a ton of stuff during the warmer months, and then you stockpile and, list things in the colder months from your stockpile. That works. And we found out early on that that's probably not going to work for us for a few reasons. The first reason is that our warmer months don't produce that much more inventory. So it's very difficult to do something like that. And then on top of that, storage becomes an issue at that point. So that really wasn't, we could take that route if we wanted to, but we didn't. It was not the route we wanted to take. So the alternate route, and the route we currently are on, and if you've watched this channel for any length of time, you know that. Maybe you don't know that directly, but you've seen the results of it. We decided that a better version of that, or what we could do for that, is we could find things that we know we can get our hands on all year, or all the time. Easily, cheaply, and repeatedly. Which is the easiest way to go about this, in our opinion. What do I mean by this? Okay, I'll use an example. We know that we can get our hands on Cabbage Patches almost all the time. I mean, with very little exception. We've run into a week here and there where Sarah maybe can't get them from her sources, or is getting them, but it's slow, or something to that effect. But for the most part, every week we are picking up new batches of Cabbage Patches. Same thing goes with postcards. It's something that we know we can source. It's something that we see a lot of. And it's something that we can get on a regular basis, whether it be January or whether it be July. It doesn't matter. So the same thing goes with ephemera. If you haven't noticed, I'm rattling off the three things we sell the most of: Cabbage Patches, postcards, ephemera, and we'll put photos in the ephemera lot. So we knew going forward that those three things we could always get our hands on, and that we would always have access to, or we would always have a stockpile of. So we are trying to come up with another one. And this other one is proven a little difficult for us, only because we know, we've researched this in our area, and we know there are certain things that we can get our hands on all the time. And unfortunately, we're going to have to start with thrift stores and garage sales and so forth to be able to find these things. Eventually, as time goes on, we'll probably streamline the process, just like we do with Cabbage Patches. The vast majority of Cabbage Patches we buy come from sources, and they get shipped directly to us. Same thing with postcards, same thing with ephemera. Now, ephemera and postcards tend to come from online auctions. They tend to come from some whatnot sellers that do frequent postcard shows, and so forth. So the initial, purchases of the next item, whatever the next item is going to be, is going to start probably at the thrift store level or, garage sale level or something to that effect, until we kind of find what we're going to sell and how we're going to sell it. I'll explain it a little bit more for you. So what we have to find is a product that we know we can get our hands on frequently. That's what we're looking for here. We're looking for something that we can get frequently and cheap and be able to sell it online. Which in our area is going to be different than your area. There are some areas in which you can get shoes till you're blue in the face. Not our area. It doesn't happen that way. There are some areas where you could get electronics all the time. Not here. Well, I take that back. We probably could get some electronics all the time, but it's a risky business here. And I don't know if it's probably different in other places, but in our place, it just didn't work. We've tried that already, and it didn't work out well for us. We got a lot of returns. And part of that is our doing. We're not really great at electronics. And you got to have kind of a, the ability to repair these things, the ability to clean these things, and it's not something that falls in our purview. So, we have narrowed it down to something that we've steered clear of for a very long time. And I don't know. The jury is still a little bit out on this, but this is what we think we're going to do. We think we're going to focus in on glass. And I know, as soon as I said that, everybody goes, yeah, I get it. Packing is going to be a thing. Shipping is going to be a thing. Breakage is going to happen. Those kind of things. You're right. But it's everywhere around here. Literally everywhere. There's so much of it in the marketplace. There's so much of it in the secondary marketplace. There's so much of it at garage sales. We see it everywhere. And there's some question marks, and this is the first video, so we've researched and we've decided where we're going to go, but we haven't done it yet because we're not, we're trying to get as good at, or we're trying to figure out as much of it as we can without doing it. And that's difficult because you pretty much just have to go do it. So we don't know. And the one thing we don't know now is that what's in the marketplace could not be worth it. Or what's in the marketplace is low price stuff. And we're going to have to play it kind of like we do ephemera, where, it's kind of a numbers game and we list kind of as much as we can to offset the low sale dollars. So that's what we don't know. And that's what we're going to have to figure out. But that's part of this little transition. And it's not really a transition. None of the other things are going to suffer about it. And why is that? Well, as you sell something on a regular basis, meaning you sell it all the time, it's part of your store all the time. Our processes and the things that we do to list these things get more efficient over time. Meaning that Sarah could list a Cabbage Patch a year ago and it would take her an hour and a half. Now, that same Cabbage Patch would take her 30 minutes or less. Depending on how dirty it is, of course. And, we'll go with postcards. Postcards are another example. A year ago, it would take us 20 minutes to list a postcard. Whereas now I can list a postcard in under 3 minutes. So our processes have been streamlined for all of these things. And they've been put into place in such a way that we can list all of this stuff and then take on something new. something that we don't know a lot about, that's going to take some time to research, just maybe take some time to clean, so forth and so forth. So by doing this, we're trying to add another element to our store. We're trying to add another thing that we sell frequently and for a decent profit. And that's how we plan to expand our store. A lot of people take their store, they put it on, and then just want it to balloon as fast as humanly possible. We're trying to kind of stage it, if this makes sense. So we're trying to get good at selling several things and then add one to it and add one to it and add one to it. And by doing that, hopefully, in theory, this should add more income to our store, because we're still selling the Cabbage Patches with regularity. We're still selling ephemera with regularity. We're still selling photographs with regularity, and we're still selling postcards with regularity. Now we add another item into the store, and we hopefully will get to the point where that is selling regularly too, and that should in turn add more money, right? My logic is sound, but it is an area of reselling that we purposely steered clear of. This is, if you haven't noticed, we're transitioning into maybe the potential flaws in my plan, or our plan. It's an area that we purposely steered clear of because of obvious reasons. The first reason is we know nothing about it. Not to say that I knew anything about postcards when I got into it, because I didn't. Other than what they were, I didn't know a thing about Cabbage Patches when we got into it. Same with ephemera and pictures and things, we didn't know any of this stuff. Jeans, when we used to sell jeans, we knew nothing about jeans. I mean, other than their pants and when I wear them. But didn't know what vintage ones look like and so forth and so forth. So it is going to have some learning involved with it. And hopefully it's a profitable thing to learn about. Now, we've seen there are people on YouTube that do this and on a regular basis and make very good money at it. We've done as much research as we could safely do and say, okay, yeah, this could be something we could get into. And that's the plan. But again, there's lots of flaws with this plan that we may or may not have to deal with all the time, and it may actually upend this whole idea that we have. So one of them is the the breakage factor here, because this is notoriously one of the worst things to sell when it comes to things breaking in transit. Now, do we plan to sell like exceptionally fragile things? No. Not at all. In fact, if my thought process was to start with something like candy dishes and maybe small cookie jars or something to that effect, and those tend to be a little bit more hefty and tend to hold together, so hopefully we don't run into that problem right off the get-go. But it could happen, and it could become a very big thorn in our side, and this may not work at all. And then this next series of videos is going to just be me pouting most of the time. But that's what we're going to do. So that's the plan going forward. Is it going to work? I don't know. Comment down below. Let me know what you think. Because this does seem ridiculous to us, but we see it everywhere. Like everywhere. We used to pull things out of the bins and, when we first started, and we would sell it. We see it shelves upon shelves upon shelves of it at thrift stores. Even our worst thrift store, which we don't go to very frequently, has tons of it. And it's just, there's too much of it in the marketplace out here to ignore it anymore. So this is what we're doing. And I'm a little worried, I'll be honest. It was my idea. I thought about it. I thought of it. And we looked into it. And, it's going to be interesting. So follow along. This is a new little series we're going to do. We're going to update you anytime anything changes. We're going to update you while we're learning. And it's going to be interesting because this is something we know nothing about. We know very little about, I should say, because we know a little bit. There's small, we know certain things to look for, just your regular everyday stuff that you see. We know that kind of stuff, like uranium glass. We know what that is. We don't completely ignore this side of the reselling, but it could go either way. I'm not sure. I'm a little worried, I'll be perfectly honest with you. So stay tuned for that. And I would love to hear your comments and what you think of this, and what, you know, if you have any advice, or if you know a lot about glass, reach out to me. I'd love to talk to you. That's good too. So, alright guys, that's it for this video. Just a little short one, just updating you on what we are doing. Kind of start off this new series that we're going to do. We're going to take you guys along on the journey and update you on how this is going. We haven't started yet. Today is Monday when I'm filming this, so wasn't feeling very well yesterday, so my apologies. As you can tell, I'm still a little congested, but we'll be back, promise. Thursday, 9:30. So, guys, hit the like button if you wouldn't mind, and subscribe to the channel. How else are you gonna know what what happens, whether this is a total disaster or not? We'll see you next time. Bye.
Good day, sir!